people are searching for something. I think
Mhm.
that's what I've learned. I've learned that there's a lot more people out there that also don't necessarily have a ton of opinions on God or what they think about Jesus because they haven't really been questioned about it or they haven't even really had it presented to them.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot of power in that because it's a little bit relates to my testimony and how I actually never had a stance on God or Jesus throughout all of middle school, high school, in throughout all of college as well. And so what I've really found is that uh, I really just learned that people are searching for something more, and I think being able to just see people who, especially in my community here in Ohio, that people really look up to be able to be outward about their faith in Jesus. I think I've learned that it has a bigger impact than I would have ever thought.
Kevin, you're a content creator with nearly 900,000 followers on TikTok. You're the host of Walk Podcast. And specifically, you have this new series called Buckeye Revival, where you talk with new Buckeye football players each week about their journey with Jesus. This is so awesome, man. Thank you for your time, dude. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so excited to be on, dude. This is like it's an amazing opportunity, man, for just be on here and just talk about everything that's going on.
Come on. I like to kick the show off by going back a bit. Where did you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Columbus, Ohio,
Okay.
and I'm still in Columbus, Ohio to this day. But I grew up in
Nice.
Columbus, just a suburban kid outside of Ohio State. Grew up just part of a Buckeye family, Ohio State Buckeye family. Both my parents work at the university, and so have not strayed too far from home though. Like only about a 10-minute drive to Ohio State's campus. Grew up there, always wanted to be a Buckeye, and I ended up going to college at Ohio State as well, and spent my
Cool.
4 years of college and now I'm 23 and I'm a year removed from Ohio State, graduated last year. And I've been blessed to be able to do some work full time on my own, a little bit more of the entrepreneurial content creation side of things. But yeah, I grew up in Columbus. I love Ohio, actually, surprisingly enough. A lot of
Come on.
people, you get some mixed signals around here. You get some people who are like, I want to get out of Ohio. I hate
Yeah.
it. You get some people that are like all in for Ohio. And
Yep.
I am on the side of like, I love Ohio. The older and older I get, the more I feel like this is my home and just the community that I built here. It's been really powerful. So
Come
I'm
on.
a Buckeye through and through, and I love my state.
Come on. Oh, that's awesome. One of these days I will get out there to watch a game for sure, man. I'm excited about that. As I was doing some research on you and checking out your social media, you got baptized in March of this year. I love watching people get baptized, man. Congratulations, dude. Uh, what prompted you to start getting to know Jesus more and ultimately stepping into getting baptized and publicly, showing people to your faith there?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think where to backtrack it a little bit because I was a little bit patient when it came to my baptism. I wanted to really just make sure that I was truly like following Jesus and really
Yeah.
had already surrendered my life to him before I just made that public declaration, which is a really good step in the journey in your walk with Christ is just being outward and letting everybody know. Especially for me, it was really powerful because I have a social media following as well. So to be able to share that on social media also just had a great impact just to let everybody know where I stand with Christ and how like that's who I live my life for now. And but where it all kind of started was about a little over a year, I'd say a little over a year ago. It was about August, September of last year. And I had never really thought about God ever. It never really crossed my mind what opinion I had on God. I always grew up in I just kind of lived my life just trying to kind of please people, just be a good guy. I was like, I'm a good person. Like a lot of people like me, and with that, I just kind of was living life, and things were going all right actually. Like I was doing well with my social media following, had a ton of great friends. A lot of things just seemed on the surface like, oh, okay, like Kevin's life seems pretty good. But where things really changed for me was my brother, actually, my younger brother, about 2.5 years younger than me. He had called me a little bit in that August kind of time, and he was just asking me some of my thoughts about, what I thought about God and just like a higher power.
Mm.
And him and I were in a similar boat with like not really ever thinking about God, but turns out he had some people kind of planting some seeds in his life and pouring into him. And my brother was going through a little bit more of a low point in his life, and he was definitely searching for something more. And just through some conversation, we got to the point where a little bit more of like the apologetic side of things, more so talking through like the reasoning for God and, why a God would make sense. And I think more than anything, why would I want a God to make sense? Because I think I got to the point where I was like, man, if there really is no God out there that really loves me, there's no God that created this universe, then then why am I even here? Right.
Mm.
And that was a big turning point for me because there's a lot of good reasoning I felt for, for God, but also even if there wasn't, I was kind of like, why would I not want there to God to be true? And that was enough for me to go to church. And so my brother and I, we started going to church together a little bit, and I didn't even know who Jesus was at the time. And I got to know this Jesus guy. I was like, man, like, okay, this Jesus guy, he died for me, and I guess this guy lived. And uh, as I was learning more about Jesus, he started to reveal my sinful nature to me because at the time I didn't really feel like I was a sinner at all. I was
Sure.
like, oh, compared to everybody else, like I'm kind of a goody two shoes. I for the most part, I don't really like I don't do some of the things that other people do, right? That's what I used to think. And
Yeah.
Jesus really revealed to me over time, like, man, no, I am a sinner and I do fall short of the glory of God. And so uh I ended up giving my life to Christ. I would say around that September time of last year, so a little over a year ago. And where that led to me was just following the Lord, and he's had to do a lot of pruning in my life over the last year, and that ended eventually led to in March deciding to get baptized after I had a really like impactful event with a friend down in Texas, and just a ton of spiritual growth for me, and to the point where I was like, okay, like I think I'm ready to truly like publicly proclaim that I'm a follower of Jesus. And
Yeah.
ever since then, man, my life has been changed. It's been a whirlwind, and God's been so good to me.
Come on, man. Oh, dude, that's so good. I love that, man. Such a cool moment for your brother, especially to be speaking life into you, man. And I didn't get saved. I didn't give my life to Jesus till I was 24 years old, man. I didn't get baptized till I was 25 years old, man. And same thing. I kind of felt like my life's good, man. I'm not like doing anything wrong, like crazy out there. And turns out I actually was doing quite a bit of crazy stuff, man.
Yeah.
But just I love that, man. And I want to get in though to your walk podcast, the Walk Foundation. This is so awesome, man. But for those who don't know, like, what's the lowdown on this? Like, what's the walk? What's the podcast, man? How did it all come together?
Yeah, so I'll kind of backtrack it to this past May. So
Yeah,
the Walk Foundation, it's a foundation, it's a nonprofit that's all about giving a platform to athletes to be able to share about their faith in Jesus. And back in May, I was not a part of the Walk Foundation. I really was not involved. It was just getting started though, like back in May. And but something I've been praying on, I mentioned that I do social media content, a lot of it around
yeah.
football. And so
Hmm.
something I've been praying on was I wanted to be able to start involving my faith more into my content. And one thing that I prayed on was I knew that Ohio State running back Travion Henderson was starting to be more outward about his faith. So I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to be able to, do something with Travion Henderson or something like to I don't know, maybe if it's make content around it or whatever. And I was praying on that, and like, one time, the time I can vividly remember like having a prayer on that was like 2 days later, I see that three Ohio State football players, Travion Henderson, Emeka Egbuka, and G. Scott, three of the bigger name leaders on the team, are hosting an event at my former high school in Upper Arlington, Ohio, to share their testimonies. And the event is completely about their faith, to share their testimonies and inviting a ton of people to the high school to share their testimonies. And so I reached out to the Walk Foundation, and I'm like, I got to be here. Like, I got to be here. Like, I would love to create some content around this event.
Yeah.
And throughout the entire summer, I was able to go to these events that these players are putting on through the Walk Foundation, where they were sharing about their faith in Jesus Christ. And I was making videos that were reaching hundreds of thousands of people throughout the summer. And so God was doing some incredible things with these players' testimonies. And for me to be able to be a part and just do my part in it was really cool. And so that was kind of where my involvement with the Walk Foundation got started. Was I was kind of handling more of, I wasn't really necessarily in it, but I was more
Yeah.
so covering it.
Sure.
And then it got to the point where I got a lot closer with one of the co-founders, Jacob Bird, and we have grown a lot closer. And I've started to handle more of like the social media marketing side of things for the Walk Foundation, and that kind of led into starting up the podcast this year with the Ohio State football players. And so there was a lot of things that went on, just building those relationships with those players throughout the summer. And Jacob, who I mentioned, he has a lot of the relationships with a lot of the players through running some youth football camps in the past. And Travion Henderson has been very involved in talking about the growth of the Walk Foundation and being involved with the mission.
Mm.
And it got to the point where right before the season started, we were like, what if we did a podcast or we interviewed a different Buckeye each week to share about their faith in Jesus? And the Lord's been doing some incredible things with the videos. Like the followings went from pretty much practically nothing to over 10,000 followers on multiple platforms,
Wow.
reaching we've had like I would say probably 10 million views, or not, maybe not 10 million, maybe like 5 million views or so in the first like month and a half of the
Come on.
show. And it's been incredible.
Come on, man. And I love that you guys have the Buckeye Revival tees and hoodies available. Those are slick, dude. People definitely need to go grab those off the website there. Uh, as a podcaster, I've been doing this since 2017, so I've interviewed over 500 people, but I love being able to connect with other people who podcast. And I think it just opens the door to meeting so many amazing people and hearing such cool stories. But for you, like, what's your favorite part about podcasting, man?
I think my favorite part about podcasting, selfishly, it's really nice to be able to be in on those conversations, like to
Yeah.
truly be the one sitting there where the spirit's moving, and just to have the build those relationships. I think is one of the best things that come from it. But also, uh, my other favorite part is just that when I'm doing the podcast and I'm doing the interviews, since I'm the one who edits all the clips and I'm the one who makes the content for social media, it's pretty cool that when I'm sitting there in the interview and I can just see the moments that I know are gonna like really make a big impact on social media. So I always get a little giddy when I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, they just said something that's gonna make for an amazing clip that's gonna reach
Totally.
a lot of people, and so I get excited about that too.
Oh, that's so cool, man. Yeah, I it's podcasting is funny because if you were to walk up to somebody like, hey, can I pick your brain? They'd be like, heck no, man. But if you like approach it like, hey, man, I want to help you promote this or promote that or your story, absolutely. And I love being in on those conversations, like you said, man. It's good to be on the inside there. What has been your, I guess, the biggest lesson that you've learned through your involvement with the Walk Foundation, especially when it comes to reaching others for Christ?
Oh, what's the biggest thing I've learned there? Um, I would say I think I've learned that people are searching for something. I think
Mhm.
that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
I think I've learned that there's a lot more people out there that also don't necessarily have a ton of opinions on God or what they think about Jesus because they haven't really been questioned about it, or they haven't even really had it presented to them.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot of power in that, because it's a little bit relates to my testimony and how I actually never had a stance on God or Jesus throughout all of middle school, high school, in throughout all of college as well. And so what I've really found is that uh, I really just learned that people are searching for something more. And I think being able to just see people who, especially in my community here in Ohio, that people really look up to be able to be outward about their faith in Jesus, I think I've learned that it has a bigger impact than I would have ever thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was totally lost in high school and I was in jail at 18. I was bankrupt at 21, battled addictions for 10 years of my life and definitely would have appreciated somebody more speaking life into me in high school there. But like for you, like I guess how can we as Christians like relate to and love on folks that are just feeling that lost and just like not knowing what's going on with their life? And how can we do that without compromising our faith?
Yeah, I think that is a balance, because
Yeah.
I think as followers of Christ, we are called to like we all called to be set apart, right? We're
Mhm.
called to be set apart and shine that light of Jesus Christ. And there's a balance there, because the Lord, I feel like, really wants us to be united with our fellow brothers and sisters in Christ to help
Yeah.
build us up and to keep us strong in the faith. But then also, it doesn't mean to completely stay out of the world as well, and to meet people where they're at. And
Mhm.
so I think that balance can be tricky. And like, to answer your question, I think more than anything, it's like I really I heard this recently that really, like, it really stuck to me, was not everybody opens up the Bible. Like, not everybody opens up the Bible and reads the Word of God.
Right.
But how can I be the Bible to somebody? Like, how can I be the Bible that they don't read? And
Yeah.
so I think that's another way of just putting that. Uh, I think, like, God is love, Jesus is love. And so even when you're loving on somebody and you're not, even if you're not even sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ to them, love is God. And love is one of the greatest examples of, it's one of the greatest examples and one of the greatest, I would say, I don't know exactly what the word is. It was one of the greatest, arguments, I guess, for like the reasoning of God and for who God is, because when people feel the love from you,
Yeah.
and they almost can't understand where that love comes from, then a lot of times it can lead into a conversation about, where you receive that love.
Mm. So good, dude. What do you feel like is the sentiment when you're like being bold with your face at the high school games and college games, like from folks who don't know them? Are you getting any negativity around you at all, or for the most part, everybody's pretty welcoming about you just being bold in your faith?
Yeah, I really don't get a ton of negativity, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
From what I found, I mean, I'm around a lot of people at these high school games, and uh, I've just been so blessed to really be building up a strong community in that. And fortunately, that comes with a lot of attention. A lot of people are, want to get pictures with me, and a lot of people want to be in my social media content, which is like honestly, like I'm like, man, I'm so unworthy and undeserving of this. But
sure.
but I look at it as I'm like, man, I'm like, okay, like Lord, like how can you like make me less? And my prayer is that you would increase in this.
Yeah.
And in that people would just see you when they see me, and that I could love people. And don't get me wrong, like there are times when the Lord convicts me of being like, man, like, oh, you didn't really love on that person like in the way that I want them to be loved by you. And
Mm,
and
yeah.
that's a good call. But I would say I don't really get a ton of negative people around me when it comes to me being bold in my faith.
Come on.
But it is a little hard. I don't necessarily have the opportunity as much to share the gospel during the football games themselves.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm always really encouraged when I see that people are messaging me being like, man, it was so great meeting you. Like, or parents messaging me saying like, oh, like my kid was so excited for you to like just meet you and hang out. And like, uh, that's my, you can't necessarily, you're not necessarily, God's not gonna necessarily make you the one always to, um, lead somebody directly to Christ, but he
Totally.
can use you to plant those seeds. And so that's the thing that I like always think about. And but it also doesn't mean too that there aren't times when you can be that person, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes we can always feel like that's somebody else.
Mm.
And the Lord does call us to be bold and set apart, like I said.
So true, man. So true. I'm not a big fan of the sandwich board guys who sit out there and just say people that are they're just going to hell, right? Like those guys, I gotta like go and take a stance and go talk to, you know. And I always ask them the question, like, how did you know come to like, oh man, someone just had a relationship with me and they were walking me down, and I'm like, okay, cool. It wasn't some guy standing in the corner with the sandwich board on. Okay, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure, right? It's like,
It's a great reminder, because I I can't recall ever meeting somebody that says, "Oh yeah, like some guy on the Vegas Strip was yelling at me that heaven or that hell is real," and I ended up going. But hey, like maybe
right.
there are true conversions out there from that, but not that I've seen.
Right. Oh man, so good, dude. Like I mentioned, I mean, you have almost 900,000 followers on TikTok. I was looking at your first post, if I was looking at it right, was back in like November of 2019. It had 5,200 views, and then just jumped to January of 2020. You had over 1 million views on the next video there. What's going through your mind as you're watching these views just going start climbing up? And I mean, what would you say has helped you continue to grow your account that it is today?
Oh man, well that's look at you on your research, Eric, going back to the early days. I can't even go back and watch my old videos, to be
Oh,
honest with you.
me
It's
either.
so hard. But I've always tell people it's a good thing. If you
Yeah.
feel like you don't want to go back and watch your old stuff, it means like you're getting better and you're doing something right. And
Yeah.
so that's something that I always remind myself. It's like I hope the videos I'm making right now, that a year from now, I do not like watching them,
Yeah.
because that means I'm getting better. And
Right.
so but yeah, seeing the views climb, I mean, I can always go back to say this. For a long time, before I knew the Lord, I was finding a lot of my life in trying to get these views, and
Mhm.
all I thought about was like, how can I get my numbers up? How can I get my numbers up? And I had a lot of different reasons why. I wanted to be able to do it full time. I wanted to be able to be famous. I wanted to be able to make some more money. Like I did want those things, but I also had a passion for wanting to just create content and create good content that reaches a lot of people. I had a lot of different reasons, but now it's been so amazing because it's so easy to see all the numbers as just numbers and not actually people that are being,
Sure.
that are watching your videos. And but when it comes to content and growing a following, I think for me, the biggest things that I've learned is in the early stages, the thing that served me best was consistency and quantity. And it's because like you're kind of at the point where you're not good enough and you're not really good at making videos to the point where you need to just make enough videos to start getting a sample size for what works, what does not. And then over time, as you go back and review the videos that you're posting and seeing how, which ones are reaching more views, like what did I do a little bit different that time? Why do I think this one connected with those people? And that does take like, it does take some like creativity, you really have to think through like, why do you think this one did better than this one?
Yeah.
There's not just a cut and dry answer. You
Right.
kind of have to. So when I say like when I make content nowadays, it can sometimes be hard for me to explain like how what makes a good video to other people
Yeah.
because it's so it's like in my subconscious now to like to see the things and like to create a great video, and especially when I'm at football games and stuff and I can see it coming together. I it's like it just kind of happens in a
Mhm.
way,
Yeah.
but it's from I would say over time making a lot of quantity and reviewing back and noticing the trends and trying to notice, hey, maybe the way I worded that was better. It might have called out to more people and included more people. It really made somebody feel like I was speaking to them, or what was the emotion that I made them feel. Like a good
Yeah.
example is one of the recent videos I did with Ohio State, the campus revival event that happened on Ohio State's campus. And
Yeah.
that was one of the best videos I've ever made. And the story really told itself. Like that made it super easy. And I mean, one of my prayers before making that was I was like, Lord, like, I don't even feel like I'm worthy of handling this footage right now.
Mm.
Like, because I
Yeah.
had this footage before making this video, and I'm like, there is so much power to this, and I want to be able to tell it right. But I remember like a good example there is what I felt like made that event so unique. And if any of you guys haven't checked out that video yet, go check it out on my Instagram. It's super powerful.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, I think what made this event so powerful is that it was on campus and it was a spontaneous event put on by the players. And
Mhm.
so I really thought about it. I was like, man, I really want to make a video. I really want to make sure I highlight that this is on campus and showcase like some footage there. I remember showing some footage of like some people up in the dorms like looking down on the event, and like it really I think that was a way to really capture everybody's attention because it's like, wait, like you got these people on a in a campus baptizing people, and there's people looking down on them from their dorm rooms.
Come on.
It kind of but it's like looking out for those things. That's something I've learned over time to where
Mm.
it's helped me in my content journey. But I don't have these insights unless over time I'm posting so many videos and trying to look back and review them.
Yeah. Dude, you are an absolute amazing content creator, man. And I love what you're doing. I love to finish the show with some fun questions here. Obviously, you're a Buckeyes fan, but I've seen you in wear some different football jerseys, uniforms. Like, who is it that's your favorite team? Do you have a favorite football team, or is it kind of like I'm all over the place?
Yeah, well, my favorite NFL team is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my NFL team. But if I had to say like my favorite team, like I'd say Ohio State, just
Yeah.
because it's where I'm from, where I went to college, good football program. But I am a pretty big Raider fan too. I
Come
would
on.
say, for those people who don't know, I actually have a brick with my name on it outside the Raider Stadium. I got that maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. So that's a little secret insight that I
Come
always
on.
like when I can go to the Raider Stadium. So I'm a really big Raider fan.
Yeah.
And I've been getting more into the Columbus Crew recently, the
Okay.
MLS team.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
the Columbus Crew is actually one of the better soccer teams in America, and so I've been getting more into the Crew. I'm still learning the soccer stuff a little bit, and
Yeah.
I would say I'm a decent Blue Jackets fan, but we've struggled for a while. But for the NHL, the Columbus Blue Jackets have
Yeah.
not been good, and oh, and there's not necessarily a team, but I love golf. I love playing golf. I played in high school. I like watching the PGA Tour, and Scotty Scheffler is my man.
Come on. And were you a caddy for a while too? Did I read that?
Yes, yep. So man, Erik, you're on it. I was a caddy. So I caddied for 7 years growing up at a course called the Golf Club and a little bit on the outside of town. And it's a top 40 course in the country and super like small private club. But I really just a total side note. If anybody's looking for a job in high school and college, caddying is an amazing job to have because it really worked a lot in my life to be able to have amazing conversations with older people,
Yeah.
just to be able to learn from them and develop your social skills. It pays a lot of dividends when you're older. So caddy, and you make good money doing it, and you get to be
Yeah.
outside. You're moving. You're getting to get some muscle on you. I think caddying's a really good gig.
Come on. I had a buddy who did caddy in high school too. He was always making bank, dude.
It's so good because you get paid in cash too, which is a
Yeah.
nice little perk.
So good, dude. I'm a big music guy, so I've asked the question like, what kind of music do you listen to, or do you have a favorite band that you like to listen to?
Oh, that's good. Well, I really have gotten into like nowadays. I listen to a lot of Christian music, a lot of worship too.
Okay.
A few of the artists though that stand out to me in the Christian space, Christian country, Ann Wilson is really good.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
really big fan of Ann Wilson. But outside of that, I love Creed.
Come
I'm a
on.
big Creed guy.
Yeah.
I just went to a concert this summer with
Did
my
you see
dad,
him?
and I did.
Oh,
So they're doing
nice.
the whole reunion tour going on right now.
Yeah.
And I went when I was 7 years old to a Creed concert with my dad. And
Okay.
my dad, brother, and I got to go to the reunion tour. Um, because they split up as a band for a while, but I'm a
Yeah.
big Creed guy. And so I like Creed, Ann Wilson, any of the worship, I really like Red Rocks worship. That's probably my favorite
Oh, yeah. Totally.
worship. Um, Good Plan or whatever. Yeah, Good Plans, Living God. Those are two of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if there's any else. And a little bit of an alternative guy I really like. His name's
Okay.
Patrick Jeroni. Patrick
Okay.
Jeroni. He's a great guitarist, and I think he's underrated. Just saying that
Nice.
now.
I'll have to check him out. That's awesome, man. So good, dude. Kevin, I loved our conversation today, man. You are an absolute world changer, man. You're doing so much through your through the walk. You're doing so much through your social media, man. And I just appreciate you. And from one Christian guy to another, man, I just want to say you're doing amazing things, and God is using you in such an impactful, awesome way, man. So thank you for your time, dude. I appreciate it.
Erik, I appreciate you so much, man. And this is such a pleasure coming on.
Hey, if you've ever thought about starting a podcast but unsure where to go, you need to go check out erikallenmedia.com. Click on the resources tab there. I will walk you through how to start, launch, and run a podcast. I've recorded over 500 interviews since 2017, and I want to help you launch your podcast. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you catch every show when I drop them. Thanks again. Keep changing the world.